I'm about to make something I will never get to make again. This glass was the property of Georgi Marcus, a survivor of a forced labour battalion in Hungary and the Holocaust. This glass has been handed down through the generations since, and today it's been given to the great-grandson, the newest member of the family, inside a little leather pouch that I'm making. I do not take that lightly, but let me show you how I do this the justice it deserves. A few weeks ago, I was contacted by my client. She told me a story that honestly I did not expect to hear in my lifetime, let alone be part of. In order to even attempt to do this justice, I've opted to use a leather from the world famous tannery Haas called Novanaper. If you've been a long time watcher or subscriber, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of this leather. And honestly, it feels like it was made perfectly for this project. Novanaper will age with the glass. It will become part of the family, picking up marks as it's handed down through the generations. And what better leather to line it with than Auran goatskin, also from France. Durable yet beautiful leather, so it's the perfect combination. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like as well. It helps us out enormously and costs you absolutely nothing. My client, who I will not be naming for her privacy, was born in Budapest, Hungary. Her parents went through the Holocaust. Her father survived in a forced labour camp and then survived the Budapest ghetto. And I know I'm pronouncing Budapest wrong, don't hate me. My client was born after the war in 1946. It was the communists' turn to harass her family, and they were exiled to a little tiny village, having to sleep on a farmer's floor. The first thing I needed to do when I received the glass was make a pattern for it. The glass originally came with a very simple leather pouch, but after asking my client, she told me I could go off piste a little bit and take a few creative liberties with the design of the new pouch, which, as you'll see later, I think turned out spectacularly. The pattern itself took over a day to design, as I wanted something that would hold its shape while not being stiff, yet being protective. I know it's a lot of things to ask for one little design. One very important aspect for me to consider was repairability. The pouch, along with the heirloom inside, will be handed down through generations. I'm not delusional, mostly. I know that parts of this will need to be repaired or restitched along the way. So it was really important to me to make sure that I future-proof as much as possible, to make it so that when something needs to be repaired, it doesn't damage the longevity of this piece. Such an important consideration when hopefully this will last as long as the glass does. In 1956 there was a revolution in Hungary, and overnight, literally overnight, my client, who at the time was 10, her father, her mother and sister escaped across the border into Austria, followed shortly by the Red Cross flying them to London. This little glass survived all of it. The camps, the ghetto, the communist exile, a midnight escape with a 10-year-old child in tow. Every single chapter in this family's life, and it's been handed down ever since. That whole time the glass was carried in this pouch. And when my client contacted me, she said something that really hit me right in the feels, right smack bang in the feels. She said, and I quote, "It was I that lost the case." Just wow. Like, this woman's family has been through everything and she had lost it. One of her requests when she asked me to make this piece for her was to not just emboss her initials, but also emboss the initials of everyone in her family before her who carried this glass, and leave space below it for everyone who's going to carry it in the future. This was a request that I've never had, to emboss more than one initial and leave enough space, but also to make it look not clean. She didn't want it to look organized, she wanted it to look old. Part of making this pouch as repairable as I could meant gluing it as little as possible. As a general rule, stitches are far more repairable than glue is. When contact adhesive is properly applied, So when you apply it, leave it to dry and then glue it together, it becomes even stronger than the leather itself. And as a result, if you try to take two pieces of leather apart to restitch them that have been glued down entirely, it will tear the leather apart, and I didn't want that. So I decided to use two different techniques for this. With the main body, I glued just around the edges to keep it as soft and repairable as possible, because that's the part that's going to have the most wear to it, have the most possibility of damage. And for the gussets, to give them some strength and some structure, I fully laminated them, so I glued all of the pieces together completely. These are two very different techniques. The gussets give it the shape. As with most bags and most pieces, most pouches, the gussets will give them the strength and the structure, because you can't fold them beyond a certain point. With the main body, because that's the part that's going to be in and out of drawers, in and out of pockets, in and out of bags, that's the part that's going to see the most wear to it. To make this history even more touching, if it wasn't already touching enough, my client told me yesterday that just yesterday there was an attempted arson attack on a nearby synagogue. I mean, bloody hell, 80 years after her father carried this through a camp, someone is still trying to burn down a place of Jewish worship. Like, just why? So this glass isn't just a family heirloom. My client said it herself, it's a symbol, and right now it's a symbol we still unfortunately need. With this piece, I'm using a 3mm pricking iron and an M40 Misi thread. I wanted it to be as subtle as I could get it. I wanted it to look as refined as I could get it while still looking simple. And I think I did an okay job with that. It's a super fine Misi thread, which means it's a linen thread, which makes it even more repairable. And I didn't want to use anything artificial in this whatsoever. It took a long time to make, but I think I did it justice. I think you'll see at the end. I don't think I've ever felt so much weight to get a piece right, just because of the history of the object going inside of it. The design of this pattern, and therefore the pouch, had to be perfect. It had to be resilient enough to be carried, yet delicate enough not to take away from the piece inside it. With this pattern, it took me 3 attempts to get right. The first 2 were very wrong. The first one was far too wide. It meant that the glass inside of it moved around too much, and I didn't want that to happen. I wanted it to sit snugly. The second one, far too narrow, so when it went inside, it made the pouch bulgy, it made the pouch bulky, especially with the hardware that we're using. I'm not using a snap for this. I decided to go with a Sam Browne stud. Sam Browne studs were very, very popular, very commonly used in the 40s and 50s, the 1940s and 1950s, in case you thought I was talking about the 1800s for some bizarre reason. Sam Browne studs were really common. I didn't want to use Loctite on this, because I know some of you are going to say, oh, why didn't you use Loctite? I wanted them to be able to take this apart to repair it easily, and if Loctite's used, it would have made it harder to remove. It was tight enough as is, but it would have made it harder to remove if needs be. The other problem with it being too tight, the second pattern I mean, was it made the glass a little bit challenging to actually take out. I wanted them to be able to take it out to show relatives, to show friends, to show family, to show whatever reason, and I didn't want it to be a struggle to remove, because then you might accidentally drop the glass and that would be catastrophic. If it was too loose, when you opened it, the glass could have fallen out, which also would have been catastrophic. I didn't want to put any pressure on this whatsoever. I wanted it to sit inside perfectly, and I think it did. I opted not to go for a 360-degree gusset on this. There's many types of gussets. If you want me to do a video on gussets, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will, if there's enough interest, do one. And there is a type of gusset called I call it the 360 degree gusset. I don't know if that's, it's not 360 degrees, but it's it's all of the way around the actual body. And I didn't want to do that for two reasons. One, I wanted you to be able to see the glass inside and see the lining, see the beautiful hand craftsmanship of this piece, even though I do say so myself. But I also wanted it to be so that it didn't feel enclosed. I wanted you to be able to look at the sides, handle it, touch it, and it feel open and part of the family. And one of the problems with doing that is I couldn't stitch mark this all the way around on a flat surface, because at the bottom there's a 180 degree bend, and if I stitch mark this flat and then bent it, the stitching holes would not be in the right place. So I had to do this in 3 sections. I had to first prick mark it, the first section, the gusset front section on a flat surface, and then I had to stitch mark around the sides but without the lining in place. It was very important when I was skiving the gussets down, because I didn't want there to be too much bulk on the edges, so I wanted to skive those down so that they were the thickness of the Nova Nappa, the brown leather, but not the thickness of the goat. There's one trick you can use when stitching with an awl. Because I didn't prick mark the gussets, I wanted it to be a little bit different to my normal pieces. But there's one trick that you can do. You can use your creaser and wing divider to mark the stitching gap. In this instance it's 3mm, so that when you're stitching it with an awl, you can aim for that wing divider mark on the inside of the gusset, and you'll have your prick marks come out exactly in the right place every single time. Little trick for you. Because I was doing it this way, it did require taking it in and out of the stitching clamps quite frequently. I could have, if I really wanted, glued both sides together, but because this was partially a prototype, I'd made it once before just in veg tan, but doing it like this was kind of a prototype and I didn't know if it would fit perfectly the first time. I'm glad it did, but it meant that I wanted to stitch the front of the gusset on and then make sure that the back of the gusset lined up perfectly. You might be about to ask me, why did I fully laminate the front of the flap? And I know that all of the leather workers out there are about to ask me that, if I've already just said I'm not gluing the entire lining to the entire outside. And the reason for that is very simple. I'm putting a hole in that flap for the sand brown stud to poke through, and if the 2 layers are not laminated together, that hole will obviously have 2 pieces of leather not touching, so it will make it harder to actually put the stud through, and it will mean that if you're taking it in and out repeatedly, the 2 layers of leather won't have the strength of being held together, and they will eventually fray. The rest of the body and the rest of the lining is not stitched together, is not glued together aside from the edges though. Normally with any bespoke piece I've made in the past, they've asked for their initials to be in a more subtle area. If it's a bag or a belt or wallet or whatever it might be, they've asked for those initials to be subtle, hidden, but also there when you want them. My client asked for their initials to be essentially the main thing, the main focal point of this piece, and I think that's because it's to show off, it's to pay homage to the people that have held this before. The pattern for this pouch and the Nova Napper are both available in links in the video description. The Nova Napper is available through Leatherbox and the pattern is available through my website. This edge paint may not look, when it's wet, like it's been colour matched to the leather. It may look lighter or darker depending on what your screen looks like. I promise you that once it's dried and polished, it is the perfect colour for the exterior of this leather. The other reason, well, the main reason for choosing grey for the inside was that when you open it, it shows off the glass inside. If I use the colour matched interior and lining, interior and exterior, you wouldn't see the glass as well as I wanted you to be able to. I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of this in peace and quiet, as this piece deserves. Thank you guys so much for watching this extraordinarily unusual and unique piece that I've been given the privilege of making. Have a phenomenal rest of your week or weekend, depending on when you're watching this. And let's all just take a second to appreciate the gravity of what we're about to put inside this piece. Thank you. Take care.